Hello and welcome to the Photo Bar, the podcast talking all about the business and lifestyle of photography while drinking beer. This is episode number 7, The Emotions and Expectations Before Shooting Your First Wedding with my friend Sean Lee, part 1. Hey, my name is Matt Drew, and my goal is to help you become a better person, a better photographer, and a better entrepreneur. Today's episode is actually going to be part 1 of 2, and what we're going to be doing is exploring my friend's kind of expectations and emotions and things going into his very first wedding, and then we're going to have part 2 after the wedding to see how well those expectations and emotions kind of really aligned. So I guess without any further ado, let's just jump right into the conversation. Alright guys, so welcome back to another episode here. Today's podcast episode is going to be a little bit different than what I've normally have been doing. I'm kind of wanting to move into a different, I guess, kind of stylish of kind of the podcast where it's going to be more of a casual conversation. Not necessarily an interview, but more of a casual conversation with friends and other people. Just kind of like if we were chatting in a coffee shop or, you know, like at a bar, just grabbing a beer type of thing about a specific topic. And I really want to start doing more of this kind of style, but I'm curious to see what you guys think of this style and approach and what you like and dislike and maybe stuff that you would want to hear more about topic-wise. But yeah, just let me know what you guys think. But today, I actually have my friend here, Sean Lee, and we actually tried to record this episode last night, and we had a bottle of tequila, which we thought we were just going to have, you know, a couple drinks while we're recording and stuff, and it turned into a 2.5-hour shit show and an empty bottle of tequila. So today we're just going to keep it at just a couple craft beers, a little bit more mellow. But yeah, so today's topic is really going to be kind of talking about fear and expectations and the emotions before, say, shooting your first wedding. So yeah, I have my friend Sean Lee here, and we've known each other for about, I guess, 10, 11 years. He currently has like a full-time job that he works at, and he does a lot of other stuff too, you know, like video and photo and like YouTube content creation and stuff, and he wants to move into doing it as a full-time professional. Yeah, so I guess I'll let you just kind of, I guess, introduce yourself a little bit more, a little bit better than I did.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Thanks for having me back, you know, after last night.
Yeah, back's the key word.
I've always been, and I don't know how far back you want me to go. I'm sure everybody doesn't want to hear my life story, but, you know, I've always been into media of some sort. I just love the art of storytelling through film, music, and things like that. And YouTube allowed me to do that and share it with people in a way, you know, that I wouldn't be able to have access to so many people to view these things. So I started doing that here recently, and, you know, I've enjoyed it, but I'm looking to do something more. In regards to weddings, I didn't think that was something that I wanted to get into. But, you know, just after watching your progress and, again, you know, the challenge of being able to tell a story for someone, there's a lot of fear there, but, you know, I think that it may be the correct move, you know, for the experience.
Yeah, no, I totally would agree. But I mean, you also can have a background in audio engineering and music production, right?
Yeah, that was kind of my first love. Music production has always been my thing, and audio engineering just kind of came along with it. Studio space was very expensive. It was cheaper to buy my own equipment and learn how to do it, and it was just another art form that I fell in love with.
Yeah, I can totally see that. So, I mean, really, that's probably going to help you out in shooting videos and stuff because you got the audio side down, which I think is arguably more important, you know, to have that audio down versus, I mean, if you make a really great film and you have horrible audio, it just ruins everything, right?
Absolutely. There are tons of videos out there on YouTube that are almost unbearable to watch, but, you know, if they sound good, you know, they're a lot more tolerable.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's definitely going to be a huge advantage for you. I mean, so what is, like, your ultimate goal? So, like, right now, you want to move out of working a full-time job to do this full-time professionally, but do you want to do it more as, like, a freelancer or maybe start your own business, or what is your kind of goal with that?
I definitely want to start my own business, but I do like the idea of freelance work. Freelance, that word kind of scares me because it doesn't seem very consistent. But the idea of being able to work for clients, travel, and again, just tell stories, that seems like a beautiful life to me.
So you're just really driven by wanting to storytell.
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah, that's me too. So I guess right now your plan is to shoot your very first wedding, which is coming up really soon, and it's actually going to be with me at one of my weddings. So I guess, as a business going forward, do you plan to shoot weddings full time, or is it something you just want to try out, or maybe just use as income to, I guess, fund other video endeavors? I mean, what's the deal with the weddings?
Yeah, again, I feel like it's another way to challenge myself and push myself and continue to learn the craft. I don't think that's my end game, though. Some people shoot weddings really well, and that's what they want to do. That's what they want their business to be known for. But I think that it would help with the income because weddings are happening all the time, and it will help with the craft. But I'm not sure that it's something that I'd want to do forever, if that makes sense.
No, totally. And I guess it was kind of the same thing with me. Like when I first got into photography, I didn't want to shoot weddings at all. I had never even been to a wedding, had no interest in weddings. I wasn't that interested in the whole love, thing. I just had no interest at all. But after, I shot my first wedding, I really fell in love with documenting weddings. I mean, the whole the stories behind them, the fast-paced environment. I mean, everything about photographing weddings, I absolutely love. And I had no plans to ever do weddings. And 7 years later, here I am, and it's literally 80-90% of my business now.
Yeah, and I mean, it's great that it worked out for you that way. My thing is, I want to be able to be creative and tell the story the way that I see fit. But just maybe TV has ruined my view on weddings. But I feel like it'd be just a bunch of people barking at you and letting you know what shots they want and the shots that they need, and it doesn't give you the creative freedom just to do what you want as an artist.
That's funny. Yeah, I can definitely see that. Especially, I mean, from my own experience, when I first started weddings, I probably did have some of that. Like brides and couples would give me shot list, of 300 points of stuff to take photos of, and I don't know, it just seemed weird. Or I'll be at a wedding shooting something, and the mom of one of the couple, the people would come up to me like, hey, make sure you go over there and shoot this or shoot that. And so, yeah, it kind of was like that. But I think a large part of that was, one, probably because I wasn't very established, so I didn't have a lot of content to really show as far as kind of my style and approach to stuff. Two, I was working with the wrong clients. They weren't the ideal couples for me. And I guess maybe just a few other factors in there, But, I mean, nowadays, it's in the last maybe 5 years, I guess, I've never had anybody ever ask me to take any kind of specific shot, hand me a shot list or anything like that. It's just, they know when they hire me, I'm going to do what I do, how I do it, and that's what they're getting delivered. And essentially, that's what they're hiring me for. They're hiring me to be an artist and hiring me for my creative vision and the way I document and tell stories,
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, especially now that you are established. Going into this blind and not having shot a wedding before, you kind of look at the expectations and reality and things. It's, I want to produce a film that I'm comfortable putting my name on and comfortable delivering to someone else. I have high expectations for myself. So if I don't, if I don't necessarily care for it, I know my thought is that they won't either, even though they may think it's the greatest thing ever. But that's me with all my work. I'm very critical, and it's just never good enough. So I'm never satisfied, and I think that holds me back in a sense that I don't put out work as frequently as I should, just because I'm so much of a perfectionist, if that makes sense.
No, yeah, that totally does. I think that's more of a creative mindset. You know, like I don't think anybody, like photography wise, video wise, or any kind of creative is ever happy with their work. You know, and it's like me, it's just like I'll shoot incredible photos that I totally love, and like the next day, the next week, the next month, the next year, it's all garbage. You know, and then there's a few in there that, like, over the years that I've really captured that I still love to this day. You know, like maybe that I shot 3 or 4 years ago, and it's still one of my favorite photos. And sometimes a lot of that's because of the moment I captured or the technical aspect that I captured, and then a lot of it's because of the story behind that specific photo that I know personally. And so yeah, I can totally see that. We're all perfectionists in ways, and it can hold us back a lot. You know, especially when we're first starting out. I think a lot of people, there is a lot of fear, like your work is just never good enough to really put out. But if you do that, you're never going to get anywhere, you know, because you're just not doing anything. So I think it's better to even suck and just keep putting out content, because you're always going to keep getting better, you know?
Yeah, no, I definitely understand what you mean there. And to add more fuel to the fire here is you prepare by watching other people do it. So I'm on YouTube all the time anyway, so I'm watching these wedding filmmakers and seeing what they're bringing to these shoots, and then I look at their gear and I'm like, well, shit, I don't have that. Do I need that? You know, so you get kind of caught up in thinking that you need the fancy, 70 to 200 2.8 lens that's thousands and thousands of dollars that
and
you
the
don't
glad
have.
can and like sliders,
all these things that go in, which are great, to have tools that work for the job, but you have to, for me, I have to get out of my own head and understand that I don't need all of those things to tell a good story, and it's not about the equipment, as they always say. It's not about the equipment, it's about who's using it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's funny because I've talked about that a number of times on other podcast episodes. Like, at least in the photography world, there's a huge issue with what I guess is referred to as GAS, gear acquisition syndrome. And people just buy the hell out of freaking everything because they want to look cool. Like, they want to get that, like, that holy trinity, like that, what is it, the 1424, 2470, 7200. And they think that's going to make their work better, or they want to look cool in front of their peers. It makes them feel more professional, or they want to show up to weddings looking like freaking like Rambo. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, I'm here to shoot a wedding. But it's not like that, and I've been going the complete opposite direction of that. But I think everybody that kind of at some point in their lives and career kind of goes through that, to where they start out with nothing, and then they grow all this huge, insane amount of gear, and then maybe they start kind of tapering off, and kind of where I'm at now, to where I'm selling literally everything and switching to Fuji and doing all this crazy stuff to get rid of all the gear.
Yeah, I've always lived with, come with more than you expect to need, but at the same time, when you don't know what you need to begin with, it's kind of rough. Because again, I don't even go to weddings. You know what I mean?
Have you ever been to an actual wedding?
I have. I've been to two really nice weddings. I've only been, I'm trying to think back. I've only been to two as an adult. And they were both very well produced weddings, and I try to think, like, well, am I going to be in the way if I stand here? And I know you're being paid to be there, so you shouldn't feel bad about standing in a certain position. But at the same time, you don't want to be that guy who.
Oh, I know about that guy. Especially when it comes to videographers, man. I can tell you, like, a number of times I've had videographers like literally set up like tripods in the middle of the aisle, all the way at the front. Like, I'm trying to shoot photos, and it's like in every damn photo there's this dude's tripod in the middle of the aisle. And I've seen it where not just videographers but photographers too, like, they're walking back and forth in front of the entire crowd. They're like, just, there's some things that you kind of need to be in the way for, because it's just part of what it is that you're trying to do, right? And then there's other ways around it to kind of stay out of the way, and like this common sense things, like you don't walk in front of the entire crowd and block the view of everybody. But I see people do it all the time.
So from your experience, now that you mentioned it, from your experience, how is it working with a videographer on the set with a wedding? Like, I feel like that's an important relationship for the day. I
No,
feel
I
like
agree.
I feel like the video guy should probably follow the photo guy's lead. With not necessarily creativity, but you guys, I assume, have the same goal in mind. And he or she can kind of work around what you're establishing with the couples. Am I making sense there? Or?
No, yeah, totally. I guess it really kind of depends, everybody, like photographer wise, like everybody works differently. Same with videographers. They all kind of work differently, but all kind of work similarly at the same time. I'm one, I think it's vital to have really great relationships with all the vendors. I mean, not just like the video guy or anybody else, but all the vendors, because we're all there for the same goal. We're all there to serve our couples and make their wedding incredible, right? But it's even more important, I guess, when you're working with, like, say, a photographer or a videographer together, because we're all sharing the exact same space. We're trying to essentially do the same thing. We're there to capture a story, right? So kind of my approach to it is I want to be like best friends with the videographer, and anything that they need, I want to make sure that they get. And in return, I'm hoping they're kind of doing the same thing for me. And overall, in my experiences, I've had a few bad ones, like where they're just cocky. They think they're the best thing since sliced bread. Like, it's all about them kind of thing. I've had a couple of those. And there's plenty of photographers out there, too, that think the same way. Probably maybe even more photographers than videographers that think that way. But most often for me, like, I approach them, I introduce myself, and usually I send out introductions a couple weeks before through email, and just kind of chat with them and kind of get on the same page. But yeah, I just let them know, like, hey, we're here to work together. We're going to be shooting basically the same stuff, and we all kind of need the same elements of the story to tell a full story, right? So we'll just work together. And for example, when I'm shooting portraits, I'll set them up and shoot portraits and stuff, and then I'll bring the videographer in and be like, hey, dude, all right, so what exactly do you need to get here? And let them go in and move in and shoot the shots that they need. Same thing, like we're shooting a first look, I'm kind of doing my thing. I'm watching the videographers. I'm trying to stay out of their way at the same time getting my stuff. And most often they're doing the same thing for me. And then maybe I'll shoot some certain things. I'm like, all right, dude, come over here and get this angle or whatever, and like, or this looks really good. Like, hey, I'm throwing it out there, shoot what you want, but I thought this was cool. If you like it, go ahead and do it. If not, whatever,
Yeah. And while I'm thinking about it, because you mentioned something here, and I want to ask you about it. In my endeavor with filmmaking, I'm usually not in a high pressure scenario where I'm able to redo takes. I can say, you know what, let's do it again. Let's do it again. I can control the lighting and make it, stylize it exactly how I want. With weddings, I feel like you're kind of put in a position to deal with whatever you got. And if you miss it, it's not happening again. So, I mean, what do you do? Have you missed an important moment at a wedding that you wish that you would have gotten, and how do you make up for it?
In general, I don't think I've ever missed like the important moments, like say like the first kiss, like I've never missed a first kiss. Typically I will try to get kind of establishing shots, like the first kiss. I try to get from like the center of the aisle maybe, but sometimes maybe it's not feasible for me to get into a center of an aisle, or like the first kiss might happen way faster than I anticipated, so I'll shoot it kind of from wherever I'm at, and that makes it that much more unique, but no, overall I don't think I've really missed important moments like that. But yeah, you're right. I mean, it is very fast paced. It is a lot of the stress and pressure because you are doing things so quickly, and there's not always a whole lot of time to get certain things. You might show up and you're expecting one thing, based on the venue. Like we're having this pretty wedding outside. Perfect example. Last year, we were having this amazing wedding outside in Louisiana, and it was kind of outside this cool like castle-looking building and stuff, and it was incredible. And literally right before the ceremony was about to start, a hurricane came through. And I mean, shit, like, how do you prepare for a hurricane? You know what I'm saying? And then so the venue didn't really have a full backup plan, but what they were going to bring everything inside and do the whole ceremony inside. But the downside is the way it's set up, there really isn't a whole lot of room for people to be all in the same room. And they had a lot of guests, so not everybody could actually even fit into the room to even see it. Basically, we're essentially trying to have a wedding in a closet, and the couple was just kind of upset because they just wanted to get married. They didn't care about anything else. They just wanted to get married. So as kind of part of my job, a lot of what I do is help them, not just take pictures. I'm there to help and serve them through situations and stuff. And obviously I've been and shot a lot of weddings and been through a lot of stuff. And I went up to him, I'm like, hey, this is kind of a crazy idea, but what if we just held the wedding outside in the rain? I mean, obviously it wasn't hurricane like at that second, but it was like coming within probably the next 12, 15 hours, and so there were a lot of high winds, a lot of rain and stuff. And I was just like, dude, I mean, it could turn out to be something so magical and incredible, and they're like, you know what, fuck it, yeah, that sounds amazing. Let's do that. And we did it, and the photos turned out so incredible. The couple was just so overwhelmed with joy. They were just crying this all day, and it was just so amazing, like how well it all turned out, But I mean, how would anybody prepare for something crazy like that, But yeah, you get put into those situations, and it's up to you to figure it out. Like a lot of what we do as, I say, photographers and videographers is not just about storytelling and things like that. It's about problem solving. We're there to solve a visual problem for these people. That's why they're hiring us, and they're hiring us to do it in the way that we do it. So the better you are at problem solving situations and doing it quick, whether it's at a wedding or on set of something else or anything, like the better you are at that, the more people will refer and hire you out because they can trust you, right?
Right. And I think, that is something that as nerve-wracking as that may be, I feel like that's something that I'm extremely excited for, just because if I can manage to work my way through that high-pressure situation where you're kind of dealt a bad hand and you just got to work with it, it will reflect better in my work in the low-pressure situations where when I do have control and I do have the ability to be more creative. This will allow me to take my creativity to a different level. Just staying on my toes and working through situations that people in studios will never ever really have to deal with. So I'm nervous yet excited for that chaos.
Yeah, that's funny. Yesterday, that I'll kind of bring up another story real quick about that. That's even more insane, I think, than this hurricane wedding. But as you know, like I co-host another photography podcast with one of my friends, and we did an episode a couple weeks ago. I'm not sure if it's out quite yet. I think it's coming out this week. But so he was in a situation to where he was doing a wedding that was like 3 or 4 hours away, and so they were driving to the wedding, and they end up, I think, getting a flat tire or something. Something happened, or no, they got into a small like fender bender. And he like took his equipment stuff out of his trunk because he had to fix some stuff or do something. And then everything was cool, and they were already kind of running like 20 minutes late to the wedding, so they're trying to hurry up and get there and get this process just rolling through. And all that chaos of that, he actually left his cameras on the side of the highway. Like seriously, all of his gear and shit was on the side of the highway, right? So he gets to this wedding, he's all like, they're 30 minutes late at this point, and everything's cool though. They've been talking to the couple and stuff. Opens the trunk, and he's just like, "Oh my god, I literally have no cameras." Nothing. They have nothing to shoot with, right? So the plan at this, there you go. There's the problem. So it's like, what do? You get seconds.
That's beyond the problem.
Yeah, you have seconds to figure this stuff out. You're 30 minutes late. The couple is waiting for you. They're expecting you to take pictures, obviously. So he sends his assistant out to like a local Best Buy to buy like some whatever cameras they can get. Just go buy some cameras and let's make this thing happen. And they had no memory cards or nothing, right? So he gets into this wedding, he tells them kind of what's going on and how insane and how bad he feels about everything, and the couple's actually super cool with it, and they're like, whatever, just we'll make it work out, right? And then it ended up, so with all that chaos, he got this camera, he starts shooting and making things happen, and then there happened to be a videographer there that was just like the saving grace. He was the most badass dude ever. He was talking about the problem that was going on. The videographer was like, hey, you know what? No problem, dude. I got a spare 5D Mark III laying over here that you can use. I got a 51.4 you can have. You want anything else? Gave him all of his spare gear because they had a team of videographers. They had like 3 or 4 people there, right? Gave him all his spare gear to whatever he needed to make it happen. And that's what he ended up shooting with, But if it wasn't for that, he still would have been left with like those Best Buy cameras. And obviously when you buy a new camera, it's not like set up, so he's going to have to quickly set it up and know how to do all of that. And that's all the problem solving, dude. I mean, obviously that doesn't happen every day, but I mean, it is what it is. It did happen, you know?
Yeah, and when you mention that, I've actually read and seen videos and stories about people who like buy a camera, and literally the first time that they shoot on it is the day of the event. And I'm like, you have to have the biggest balls in the world to say this is going to work no matter what, you know.
Well, is it big balls, or is it just lack of like stupid preparation? You know,
It may be a combination of both. I mean, how overconfident are you that you can walk into this situation that somebody's paying you for, never having touched that camera? I mean, it speaks a lot on your character. I think that can work both for you and against you. But
Yeah.
that's something that I'm never like. I don't think that I could ever confidently be like.
no, I would do that.
You know.
Yeah, no, me either. And it was funny because one time I did have an issue to where I was shooting Destination Wedding, and I was there the day before, and it started raining like hell, like I mean horrible, you know, almost kind of hurricane-ish. And it was like flooding outside the hotel and all this stuff. And I was outside shooting, you know, I was playing around, and I dropped one of my cameras in this like flood. So it was done, you know. So now I'm left with, I usually carry 3 cameras, so now I just have 2 cameras. So that day I went to Best Buy. I bought a camera, set it up the night before and everything, so I would have it for the wedding. Shot everything with it, and I ended up returning it. But so there again, problem solving. It's just like those kind of situations are going to happen, you know. Or you know, like I specialize in destination weddings, so I'm traveling a lot. So what happens if like somebody throws my gear, and it's like I'm getting on the plane, somebody throws my gear, or something happens to it, or it's all stolen, or any kind of crazy stuff could happen, or like you're shooting a wedding or something, and like your camera fails, or your memory cards fail, or like everybody at the wedding gets into a fist fight. I mean, it's like, you know, like what do you do in these situations? You have to be able to be on your toes and solve things quick.
And that's my biggest challenge. Is
You think it's a challenge or a fear or both?
it's probably a little bit of both. You know, my personality is I never, and I hate to even say this, but I never look at the glass half full. It's always half empty. So I always think of the worst case scenarios. It's like, well, what if this happens? What if that happens? And yes, you know, you do want to be prepared so you're not standing around looking like an idiot if something does go wrong. But at the same time, you can't live like that. So it's kind of like my mind and my heart are just conflicting with one another. You know, at the end of the day, you know, you just pray that you can put together a good finished product that looks polished and is acceptable to who you're delivering it to.
No, I fully agree. I mean, so I guess on that note, like, what are your overall feelings and kind of, I guess, expectations and everything kind of going into your first wedding?
What scares me most is that I don't have any real expectation. Like, I don't know. That's the biggest thing that scares me. I don't know. Like, I don't know. I've never met these people.
So you don't even know what to expect, and that's the fear kind of part.
That's the fear, you know. I never met these people. I don't know the venue. It's not like I could go early and be like, all right, I want to do this, this, and that. You know, I'm going there, and this will be, you know, it's lights, camera, action, and you're in it. You know, again, you know, me being a gearhead, you know, there's a lot of things that I want that I don't have that I think would be helpful, but you know, you've convinced me otherwise that it's not necessary and that you think that I'll do well. But I think that also comes with your 8 years of experience in doing this, and me having absolutely none. Like, I've only been to 2 weddings, man. Like, and now I'm showing up shooting a video.
Dude, I mean, you already know my story, man. I literally got a camera, and then 3 months later, I'm shooting my first wedding and quitting my jobs, and I've never even been to a wedding. So.
And that type of, you know, the guts that it takes, that is nuts. And, you know, I say to myself all the time, like, man, I wish I was the 20-something-year-old who had no debt, no family, no kids, and I could, you know, do what I want and rough it out. And here you are, you know, married with a mortgage and, you know, a kid, and you decide that you're going to, you know, you don't lock yourself into that 9 to 5 and you live this creative lifestyle. You still travel and you make it work. So, you know, I'm envious of you in that sense, but I have reservations of leaving that comfort zone of a standard 9 to 5, leaving that
Right.
consistency, that consistent paycheck.
That 401k plan, paid holidays, healthcare.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the 401k and paid holidays are nice,
Yeah.
but especially when you have a family, it's who's relying on you.
Yeah, put food. Like, where's my food at, man?
Exactly. Exactly. So, I do compare myself a lot against the guy who has nothing to lose, without a family, without these responsibilities. So I'm like, it's easy for him. It's easy for him to do it because
He doesn't have
he
nothing to
doesn't
lose.
have anything to lose,
Yeah.
And me, I'm like, man, I convince myself of all the reasons why I can't.
Because,
And-
of your daughter and
Yeah.
everything.
And we can get real here. I mean, at the end of the day, that's just an excuse to allow myself to stay where I'm at and not progress. But, I think it's time, man. I'm not getting any younger. So, it's a now or never situation. And I don't want to be the guy who doesn't chase after his goals. You tell your kids that they can do whatever they want, they can be whatever they want, but how much better would it be if you could set that example and show them and not just tell them?
Absolutely. No, I fully agree. Yes, I guess. So you're saying there's a lot of fear and stress and I guess maybe almost anxiety, not just about the first wedding, but actually transitioning from the typical 9 to 5 job into your own full-time business. This is how you pay the bills.
Absolutely, 100%. Just because when you're freelancing, you don't. I mean, from me looking at from the outside in, it's like you have no idea when your next paycheck's going to be.
No, yeah, that's definitely a lot of it. I mean, some of the things kind of weddings kind of helps because I can start booking stuff a year out or a year and a half out, or so I kind of know. Obviously, I'm gonna have some income coming in around these certain times. Or with weddings, it's kind of seasonal, so it's I know in the spring and the fall time, I want to make a lot more money during those times than I am the rest of the times of the year. And I think, yeah, it is. It's obviously, if I'm not hustling and booking jobs and getting out there and getting people to hire me, there's no money coming in. That I don't have a paycheck coming in 2 weeks. So yeah, that's kind of hard. And I think for a lot of people, especially starting out, is they're kind of used to that paycheck, And so when they start kind of making the transition over, they don't think that okay, well, this month I made $5,000, and that's exciting. That's awesome. I'm gonna go out and buy this new camera and this new lens and all this great stuff, and then they're left with $500 for the month, and they realize, well, now I have no income coming in for the next 2 months, because that's just the way it works with freelance work, as a business. And they didn't prepare for that. So now they're screwed because now they have no money for the next 2 months, Whereas what I've done kind of over the years is built up a large reserve and a certain account. So I have a steady paycheck every month, just like a normal job does, So every month, even if I have no income coming in, I have a baseline income paycheck that I will get, And then in the months where I do make a large sum of money, 1 month I might make 10, 15, 20 grand in 1 month, and then I don't make anything for 3 months, or 2 months or whatever. So I take that money and I'll kind of spread it out over the whole year, thinking in advance, where I don't think a lot of people starting out do that,
Well, how did you do that starting out? I think it's a lot easier now that you have that large reserve, as you mentioned, but before you have that large reserve, you have to get to that point.
Yeah, for sure.
What did you do in the beginning?
Really, it's kind of the same way with anything else. It's kind of the same way with when you're kind of building your gear, or you're trying to build your finances or anything else in the business to grow. Just a little at a time, So what I would do is say I'd make $3,000 from a wedding or whatever it was, and I would take X amount percentage that would go into this kind of reserve, to start kind of building that reserve up. I would take another X amount percentage that goes into another account for gear acquisition or repairs and things of that nature. Another chunk that goes away for taxes and things like that, and another chunk that goes away for other various things like my income or whatever else. I have these different kind of buckets, I guess, almost. So out of that $3,000 or $4,000, $5,000, whatever the income is, it goes all into these little buckets, and then over time the buckets fill up, and now that income bucket, that reserve bucket, is totally full. So now it allows me, I know for a fact, I get X amount of dollars, I can divide that over 12 months. So every month this is going to be my minimum base paycheck. When extra income comes in from jobs I'm getting hired for, now I'm going to get extra money because I'm going to get a bigger chunk from that paycheck, right? And so on and so forth. Then that's kind of where, at least that way, I have a very stable kind of base income coming in, even though it's not very high. But when the other chunks come in, I'm prepared. So I kind of have like a peaks and valleys fund, I guess, is kind of maybe what it is.
And again, this is just me being, my personality type, but that's also assuming that the jobs are coming in. It's like, well, what do you? That's what I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around. Getting enough jobs, not necessarily consistently, because nothing's consistent, but getting jobs. Period. It's one thing to be creative and put this work together, but to sell your personality and sell your service to people who you think need it, why choose you over the millions of other people with a camera who are doing it? You know what I mean?
No, I feel like that's probably one of the number one questions for everybody, and there's no like one silver bullet, one secret answer, no nothing. It's just like there's a lot of different ways and a lot of different things you can do, to kind of get income coming in, and a lot of it has to do with like the amount of time that you're in business. Obviously, like if you're just starting out in the first 6 months or a year, it's like nobody even knows who the hell you are, But if you've been doing it for 7 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, you get more well known, and that's where like advertising comes in and marketing comes in and all these different variables. And there again, that's another just chunk of the income. As I get income, there's certain percentages that go for advertising and marketing and other things, But it grows over time, and that's kind of where you have to be prepared with. It's like, say for you, for example, if you're going to be leaving your full-time job, one thing that you really need to do, or anybody I guess would need to do, is like that I would personally recommend is hopefully you can be debt-free, like personal. That because if you don't have debt, you don't really have any bills to pay. It's easier to make that transition over into a full-time creative field where you don't have to worry about making as much money, right? Whereas if you had a bunch of debt and for a fact, well, I have to make $5,000 this month, every single month, because I got to pay for my $600 car and all this other stuff like credit card debt and all this other crap, it makes that transition way harder, for one. Two, I would also suggest, saving up like, maybe 3 months or 5 months of income or as much as you can to make that leap. So at least it would give you a nice chunk of time to kind of start making things happen, And then 3 is you don't want to just jump out of, like, you're not just going to jump off the ship into the ocean, right? Like, you need to kind of, like, I guess, move, like, the boat closer to the dock. So the from you leaving the dock onto the boat is much closer. Like, you don't want to wait, like, if it's in the middle of the lake or the ocean, you don't want to just jump to the dock and swim to it and hope for the best, Like, you want to grow your business enough to where you're maybe within 20 or 30% of what your income is now, and then start making that transition. It would just be way easier.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and it seems so far away, so out of reach at the moment. But I'm trying my best here to be optimistic and make things happen. Again, I never in a million years saw myself filming a wedding. Not necessarily saying that I was above that, but it was just kind of like not dealing with that. But again, having an opportunity to see your experience with them, and the way that we've been talking about it, with just being able to tell that story and getting better at your craft. I feel like this will be a very solid move. So who knows? Maybe I'll fall in love with it and decide to do it full time.
Yeah, totally. So I guess we're kind of running long on time, I think. How long have we been doing this? Damn, an hour and 38 minutes. Wow, okay. So I guess we'll kind of start trying to wrap it up here, but I do have a quick question for you. So in the creative space, like, all right, so this wedding that you're doing it totally for free, right? And kind of in the creative space, and definitely in the photography world, there's always this huge debate on whether you should ever do free work, and you decided to do your first wedding for free. But what made you choose to do that?
Part of it is the confidence that I'm able to provide something worth paying for.
Okay.
That.
So it lowers the expectations.
Lowers the expectations. If I'm able to deliver something great, and it was free, they'll tell their friends about me, and hopefully maybe that'll start some business. and it takes some pressure off of me.
So if it sucks, you're not obligated to deliver something.
If it sucks, I'm not obligated to deliver anything, or, you know, I just don't feel bad. I don't feel bad for not delivering the best product in the world. And me having, again, only been to 2 weddings, I feel like that's fair. You know, I don't want to charge them for
Something you've never done.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. That makes.
Although I
sense.
will say there are a lot of people that do just jump into it and, you know, claim that they're the expert and somehow end up landing work. And I feel that they, you know, have zero experience in that. Again, that's a confidence level that I don't have it.
Yeah. Well, at the same time, I guess you can almost be setting yourself up to fail. You know, if they have expectations and paying you money and expecting something, and you think you're confident at it, and you don't have the skill set, and you don't deliver, you know, that's a huge letdown. You know.
Yeah, but you ever met the guy who, you know, whatever they put out sucks? And I know art is subjective, but, you know, they just put out something that sucks, but they're so confident in it that you just kind of roll with it. You're like, oh, okay. You know, so I feel like that confidence factor is huge. And, you know, maybe I'll grow it one day. Maybe that'll be part of my personality one day, but not today.
Yeah, I mean, I think definitely confidence will come with experience. You know, like I'm far more confident than I ever was. It's like I don't like a lot of people like to go to the venues and like kind of see everything before they say shoot a wedding and stuff. And it's like, at least for me, like I don't do venue walkthroughs at all. You know, especially with destination weddings. You know, I show up and next day I show up and shoot. And I prefer that because I don't want to set expectations up for myself. Like if I went to a venue and I start pre-planning all these shots, and then the very next day I go there and the lighting is different, or it rains and like the situations are different, now all the expectations I had and all the shots I had planned out are just worthless. So I essentially just wasted my time. So I feel now like if I don't say do a venue walkthrough and stuff and don't pre-plan things, that I'm more creative, I'm more on my toes, and I can just shoot things naturally how they really are instead of trying to push, I guess, an agenda almost on it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. And you know, with the experience level that you have under your belt, you know, I can see why that works for you.
Yeah, that definitely comes with experience.
You know, so I think after the first one, no, I'll have a better idea if it's something that I enjoy. But at the same time, is, you know, I'll know what I'm capable of doing, or I'll know what to expect to some degree. I mean, not necessarily, you know, every building's different, every couple's different, but just the formatting and the pacing. You know, I feel like I'll have that down, and it's definitely a lot more comforting knowing that I know the photographer.
Yeah,
and
can help you out.
You know, so that's one thing that takes a little bit of pressure off me, is that I'm able to roll in there with you and just kind of follow your lead in this instance. So
yeah,
it'll be cool. It'll be cool. I mean, I'm excited for it. I'm excited. I'm nervous as hell, but you know, excited to see how it turns out.
Yeah. Speaking of which, maybe after we do this wedding, let's do another episode and kind of see like how things turn out. Like if your fears and expectations and emotions were all, you know, premature or just not accurate, or if maybe they are, and just see how things went and stuff.
Would 100% love to come back, you know, and talk about that experience. Maybe after it's all said and done, I'll quit my job, move to LA, and say, fuck it, you know, and just start shooting weddings full time.
All right, man. Well, thanks for coming on, and I really appreciate it. And I'm sure a lot of people will get some good, useful information out of all of this.
Well, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Talk to you soon, man. So there you have it. And that's going to wrap up this episode with my friend Sean Lee on his expectations going into his first wedding. And we will be doing a follow-up just to find out how things actually went for him after his first wedding is done. But until then, I would love for you to join me and others at the Photo Bar Podcast Facebook group. You can get there by searching Photo Bar Podcast Lounge, or you can just type in facebook.com/groups/Photo Bar Podcast. And if you would like, you can email me at photobarpodcast@gmail.com. If you have questions, concerns, interest in upcoming interviews, or anything else you would like to say, I would love to hear from you. And I want to make sure that you guys never miss an episode, so be sure to hit the subscribe button there and do it right now before you forget, because in 5 minutes, you'll probably be off doing something else. And also be sure to share the podcast with your friends. Lastly, if you are enjoying this podcast, I would love it if you can help grow our community by leaving a 5-star review on iTunes, Google Play Store, Stitcher, or wherever you're listening to your podcast at, because it helps me stay motivated, but also helps other people find the podcast so we can have a much better and stronger community. Anyways, that's going to wrap up this episode. Talk to you guys next time.